Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the second Startup Live pitching of the AI for Good Innovation Factory. My name is Ahmed Jiyad from the ITU, the International Telecommunications Union, and I hope you all have been staying safe and healthy. The International Telecommunication Union is the United Nations specialized agency for ICT, Information and Communication Technologies, and we are the organizers of the AI for Good Global Summit, alongside with XPRIZE Foundation, in partnership with 36 United Nations agencies, ACM, and Switzerland. The goal of the summit is to identify practical AI applications to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and to scale them for a global impact. The AI for Good Innovation Factory is part of the summit and has the goal of building a diverse community of scale-ups, startups, entrepreneurs, and try to identify their most innovative solutions using artificial intelligence to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, like most of the world, the AI for Good Summit has gone digital, and we are moving forward with weekly online programming. And you can always find our program on our website, AI4Good.itu.int. I'm glad to let you all know that the call for startups and idea innovators is and will be open till the end of June to our website. So today's live startup pitching is the second one of the AI for Good Innovation Factory. The first startup pitching is can also be found on our website. In the Innovation Factory pitching session, startups are being evaluated by our jury of experts, who we're going to see in a minute, based on their AI solutions, like how strong are their AI solutions, social impact in achieving Sustainable Development Goals, and the business and sustainability model of their startups. The selected startups will be involved in various AI for Good Summit and will be elements and will be presented as outcomes of the 2020 AI for Good Summit later in the year. Before I introduce today's startup and mentors, who are going to be acting as judges and who are going to be evaluating the startups using digital scorecards that you can send us, identifying all the potential scalability possibilities of these startups and evaluating their AI solutions, evaluating their social impact. Let me start with a quick question to our attendees, because we would like to know who's in the room, right? So I would ask from the attendees to let us know on the chat, using the chat functionality, where are they connecting from, which city, which country. So we have the UK here, Dubai, Ireland, US, Iceland, Uganda, US, Germany, Canada. Wow, that's amazing. Buenos Aires, Mexico, Dubai, Cambridge. Wow, that's Ecuador. It's everywhere. Great. So I think with this diversity, we have a lot of brain power in the room and a lot of attendees watching all these startups pitching. And let me start with some housekeeping rules, okay? So we're gonna have 5 startups. Each is gonna have 4 minutes sharp. We're gonna be very strict on the time, followed by a Q&A from our judges and mentor. And again, as mentioned, the judges are gonna be evaluating the startups using our digital scorecards. So now let me introduce our mentors. And I will start with Nicole Butna. So Nicole is the CEO of Merantix Labs, a leading AI solution provider that sits on the board of 42.cx. She also has been building technology-driven solutions for clients and implementing machine learning solutions for Fortune 500 companies and governments all over the globe for many years. Hi, Nicole. Thank you very much for being today with us today.
Hi, Ahmed. Good to meet you. Good to see you.
So Nicole, you calling us from Berlin or from where?
I'm actually casting from Switzerland today, but
okay, so in the same country.
Tomorrow, I know, next week, right? The borders are starting to gently open.
Yeah, true, exactly. The restrictions are getting less and less. Yeah. So maybe a quick question, since you are the CEO and the co-founder of Merantix Lab, which is basically a company that builds AI startups and AI companies, and also you build AI capabilities to other companies. A very interesting question would be, how can we make sure that we use the AI and machine learning capabilities in the right direction, or like for good, as we say?
So I think very much, for us at least, I think it's a dual responsibility. So there are some things that we can do as a company structurally to build up a team that is very much focused on using their capabilities on the right areas, right? We select, Merantix selects startups in which they invest in as a fund. And obviously there are certain areas that are that we like supporting more than others. But then also, it's about, we know that in AI, bias is a big topic. We want to avoid that. So diversity hiring, all these sort of topics are, I think, important for companies and investors also to have in mind from a structural perspective. And then also, each and everyone in our team has a responsibility, I guess, as well, right? Each and everybody of our team members, we encourage discussions, and we encourage a culture of really, dissent as well. So if you're not on board with something, please voice it, please bring it up. And I think that's extremely important to make sure. And it's also something, by the way, that I think you also have to bring as you're looking for good talent, because this is also something people want to voice, right? And if you're looking for good talent, then you have to also provide this culture. So I think those are two components, I think, to make it work.
Yeah, get work for good. So yeah, working define AI innovations for good is one thing we do at the summit, but also the other thing is we try to scale them. So maybe from your experience, what do you say in terms of what would be the most challenges or obstacles against scaling a good AI for good solution?
Data. I mean, I always have my team is making always fun of me. I have this buzzer, right? Data has arrived. So I think very often, depending which sector you're working in, making sure that you build an operating model, a business model that aligns well with others and enables you to really build scalable data sets across multiple players in an ethical way. It can be a challenge, right? For example, one of the portfolio companies of Merantix, Vara, is in the breast cancer space, and obviously to build a meaningful data set across different clinics, across different health practitioners in this with mammograms is a challenge, and you need to make sure that you respect everybody's interests and bring them on board. So I would say that's one.
That's the main challenge, you would say, against scaling the AI for good solutions.
One of them, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Nicole, for this. And I think we're going to move forward with our next judge, who's actually a good friend as well. So Max Covier. So Max is the head of mobile for development at GSMA. And mobile for development is exceptionally well positioned at the intersection between mobile ecosystem and the development sector as well. So we drive a lot of innovation with digital technology, reduce inequalities in our world, as they all say. So hi, Max, and thanks very much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you very much for having me, Hamid, and hi, everyone.
So Max, I mean, you've contributed a lot in different innovation ecosystems across different continents, I would say, not just countries. And a very obvious question would be, how do you see the effects of the current COVID-19 pandemic on technology innovation and technology innovation ecosystems?
Thank you. That's a very good question. And if anything, the current crisis is really showing how critical digital technology can be in responding to shocks generally, and obviously to this one in particular. In virtually every area we're involved in at GSM-4D, whether you're talking about water and sanitation or agricultural value chains, for instance, we're seeing government, the private sector, and citizens really work together to respond to the crisis and leverage technologies. There are areas like digital health, education, big data, financial services as well, in particular, that are getting a lot of attention, and understandably so. But we're also seeing the limits of current models to a certain extent. And when the time comes to focus on recovery and preparedness for, unfortunately, the next crisis, we really have to work together to make sure that we keep the momentum and leverage what we've learned from this crisis to accelerate the development of digital services in an inclusive way. Just to finish, I think that digital technology really has the power to bring people together and to help us build more resilient economies and societies, but only if we do work together and pay close attention not to translate the inequalities that we're seeing in our physical world into the digital world, basically.
Yeah, you talk about, I mean, digital technology and inclusion and how to get everyone to be using this kind of service. And a very interesting question would be, as Nicole mentioned, data before. I mean, if we talk about technology or artificial intelligence, per se, innovation, is there a difference between using these technologies and kind of leveraging the AI technology for good or for sustainable development between developing and developed countries, or developing and developed communities, or is it the same?
I mean, you can't deny that there are different challenges depending on the country, but unfortunately what we're seeing is that our societies and our economies, wherever you are not equal today. And the challenges and the opportunities will be different, of course, and so will the solutions. but the potential for existing and new technology, and AI is one of them, will exist regardless of the market. In any case, I think the right way of doing things is really to start with the people, start with the problem, rather than start with the technology. And what I like about the pitches that we're going to be hearing today is that the entrepreneurs are not using AI for the sake of using AI, but they've identified a pain point for citizens and then, or an efficiency in the value chain, and they're really using technology to tackle it. In my opinion, that's how the best solutions are born.
Yeah, great. I mean, it's a great opportunity now to see the power of digital technology, having people connected from all over the world for this kind of pitching sessions. I just knew now from the team that we have more than 30 countries represented in the attendees. And I think you're calling us from London, right?
Yes, I am here in London.
Good. So thanks again, Max. And I think we're moving forward as well with our next mentor, who is also a very good friend, Melissa Sassi. And Melissa of IBM is the chief penguin of IBM Hyper-Protect Accelerator. What a title. I need to ask about this title. But Melissa also works on early stage entrepreneurs on digital and business transformation. She leads IBM initiative Call for Code. And before IBM, Liz spent several years at Microsoft. And she built a lot of things from internet and energy access networks to introducing new digital skills for what she called the newly connected, and founder of Mentor Nations, chair of the IEEE Digital Intelligence Working Group. I mean, Melissa, thanks very much for being with us today. So many hats, and but they're all around technology, startups, and entrepreneurship. So maybe a very obvious question would be, what are you working on right now? I mean, if there are any new initiatives, any projects you're working on at the moment?
Wow, that's such that for me, because I wear so many hats, I think that that's a whole lot of stuff for me to say. But I think a couple of things that I can highlight. I think the first one would be at IBM. I'm currently recruiting 30 startups in the fintech, health tech, and insurtech space. So all companies that are dealing with data. We're very focused on data protection, privacy, and security. So I would say if you're, if you're interested in applying for an accelerator, I've got one for you. So I'll put the link to the application page in the chat window in case anyone is interested. That would be the first thing. Second thing I'm working on is taking a lot of the content and material that I've had in my head and in my team's head, and this sits outside of my role at IBM, because I believe that we all should be an and, not an or. And what I mean by this is I'm both an entrepreneur and an intrapreneur. So I have my own companies, but I also innovate inside of a big tech company. And I think there was a time when, you had to choose between being an intrapreneur and an entrepreneur. You had to be an employee or, do something else. And I think the time has come where we all have side shimmies. And some of us, those side shimmies are not such side shimmies anymore. I'm a big fan of making sure that, young people are digitally skilled. So I do a lot of work when it comes to empowering youth through digital skills, entrepreneurship, and professional development. Most of my work is in the Middle East and Africa. When I'm thinking about my side shimmy, which isn't such a side shimmy anymore, but in my role at IBM, it's very global. And I'll echo, some of the things that I've heard, that data is such an important part of everything that we do, using AI in a responsible and transparent and ethical way, but making sure we're doing that in a safe and secure fashion.
Yeah, great insights and initiative actually that you're working on. And aside from your initiative, you also work a lot as a mentor, as a judge in many events, and including ITU for sure, but also in many others. And we're going to hear pitching from great,
which I'm so excited about. This is one of my favorite parts of my job, is having an opportunity to see all the innovative solutions that are out there.
When you listen to these startups, what is the main factors you're trying to look forward for? Like, what are you trying to look for in these startups to say, okay, if we got this kind of recipe or factors, probably we have a good chance of succeeding and scaling? What are you looking for in a startup?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, first off, are you, what is the problem that you're solving? Are you fulfilling either, an unmet need, or, maybe a need that, consumers don't even know they have? Is there market opportunity? Is there product market fit? Do you have the right team? Is that team reflective of your audience? What is your business model, something that's sustainable and strategic? Have you really thought about how are you pitching that solution? Is it scalable? And I think that another thing that is really important is there was a time when you had to choose between doing well and doing good. And what I mean by that is now we can create solutions that make the world a better place and still turn a profit. And so I see a lot of ideas come my way, and a lot of them don't have business models. So I think the biggest piece is, how are you going to sustain yourself without relying on philanthropy, without relying on charity, and how can you be a self-sustaining entity?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Melissa. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot of questions coming from you to the startups when we start the pitching. And I think we're going to move on also with our next judge and mentor. So Enrique Habaludze. So Enrique is actually a partner of network development at Bamboo Capital Partners. And I know that he's super passionate about impact entrepreneurship and innovation. He used to work before at Impact Hub Geneva and Lausanne, and worked very hard on Accelerate 2030, which is mainly aimed to identify ventures with tested, scale-ready solutions in line with sustainable development goals, which is very much relevant to what we're trying to do here, focusing on AI applications and scale them, that they have to work on advancing the sustainable development goals. So Enrique, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. Enrique, Bamboo Capital Partners is one of the leading impact investing platforms. And I mean, when we talk about impact investing, a very obvious question that I think me and all the startups will be asking, what kind of startup are you investing in? I mean, as Bamboo Capital Partner, what are you looking for in a startup to say, okay, this is a good investment opportunity? And what do exactly you mean by impact-focused startups?
Yeah, thanks for the question. It's always a very rhetorical question, right? Like very interesting point. First, how do you measure impact? So impact is it's a very interesting word, and it's very difficult concept to understand for many people. But impact is basically all you do in the way you are making your business profitable. It's impact. Now, how we see it on our perspective is more related to the social and environmental impact that you are building, and always towards the sustainable development goals. So that's the way we measure our impact, right? Like we use our own mainframe, our own framework for doing that. And we focus on the achievements of the SDGs. And we work closely with the ventures in order to really first understand their impact. So how the company is performing internally, so how the employees are actually connected to the company, what is the vision of the company, and further with the clients or the services that they are providing. So these in the long term means how they are going to achieve or help achieve those goals together with the industry, the sector, the country, and of course the other players in the ecosystem. Yeah. And so you're answering to your first question. I started first for the second one, but now answering your first question, where we are investing. So we invest in emerging markets, in companies that basically show that sense of impact of social and environmental impact already in the market, with already a minimum viable product that they are consolidated and they are able to scale. So we focus on those companies that can become global, and in 5 main sectors. So access to energy, access to healthcare, what we call now, or before it was microcredits, now it's financial inclusion, agri-tech, and education technologies. So in these 5 sectors, we look at the companies in where we can make actually a support, and that we can partnering. It's for us is more a partnership than just like investing, and then create a long-term strategy to achieve our main goals. And I think, well, yeah, we do this through the correct strategies that we build inside on each of the different regions. So we are focused in Latin America. In Colombia, we have an office there. We are in Singapore in Asia, and we are in Nairobi in Africa. So this is how we actually connect with all the different regions.
No, impressive. So maybe a quick follow-up question on that, because you mentioned investing in many regions and many verticals as well, and many technology-centric startups, like all sort of technologies and sectors. How do you see the AI innovation and the impact investment ecosystem during and after COVID-19? I mean, would you think it's going to be like will be a new normal as well in this domain, or it's going to just go back as it was before? Maybe less funding, more innovation. Like, how do you see this during and after the pandemic we're living in right now?
Yeah, I'm going to take that more from the personal perspective. So I'm going to speak about myself, Enrique, about this thought. So how do I see it? I believe that there is definitely a different way of working because of the acceleration of digitalization of projects, right? Like this crisis is opening us the door to really go faster on the digitalization of many different things. One that is very interesting in the market that I see is the digitalization of assets. So this means assets, meaning not just things that you own, like physically, but also assets that you own in a paper, like assets that you own in a company and stuff like this. So I do believe that, in the future, by having this digitalization of different concepts, and basically now in assets, as I'm mentioning, artificial intelligence will be a key point of how we are going to define the next rules for investments. So after analyzing the different assets that we have in a very digital way, we can see where we can focus our attention in the needs that are existing in the markets and how we can improve those. And this also comes with other type of technologies, right? Like blockchain, big data, and stuff like this that are also in the line. And now I will complement it a little bit with what we are doing at Bamboo. So 3 of our funds on the SDG 500 are mainly based or focused completely on technology for good, as we call it, right? Like technologies that can improve the life of the people in emerging markets. So and leapfrog technologies, right? Like this is where we see future. So we have the answer.
Yeah, great, and we're going to see 5 amazing innovative solutions using AI for achieving that.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Enrique. And I think now we're going for our last and definitely not least mentor judge for today. So it's Lorenzo Niola. So hey, Lorenzo, thank you very much for being with us. And it's great actually to have Lorenzo because he's the head of ecosystem development at HatchCo Lab. And he's one of really people, like very few people who like have a really hands-on experience. And they always say he likes to get his hands dirty with impact tech ventures and impactful product and solve, humanity grand challenges. And that's also the aim of HatchCo Lab as an accelerator. And I think for now, he's supported more than 200 entrepreneurs and ventures and startups through his work. So Lorenzo, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Ahmad. It's a pleasure to be here and to contribute.
Pleasure to have you. And I think also maybe it looks like a similar question, but I'm really interested in this idea of impact tech startups and what would be the differentiation between something that you would call as an impact tech startup and maybe like a business-focused startup or a non-impact tech startup. How do you differentiate that, or how do you define this?
Sure. So we consider impact tech like the use of front-end technologies for, like AI, blockchain, virtual reality, big data, satellite images, renewable energy, IoT, like deep tech to solve some of the humanity's grand challenges of our time. The main difference is a strong purpose beyond profit. So that these ventures are focusing on compared other organizations. And at Hatch, we truly believe that this organization will be considered in the future essential to foster better equality, humanity, and drive sustainable change. At the same time, looking at the ecosystem where we are in, investors, VCs, impact investors as well, like Enrique from Bamboo Capital is an example, are always looking for a scalable solution with a strong impact. And that's why scalable impact tech ventures will become more relevant in this field. One of the main differences is that they have to put in place not only a kind of financial framework, but also an impact metrics one, to be able to show how they are all working on global challenges, shape the society and the environment we are living in. It's like having kind of two companies in one. And to be honest, is not easy or sexy at all. It requires a lot of work and commitment.
Yeah. And maybe as a follow-up to what you're saying, and I will go from an AI perspective now. So, I mean, you worked a lot with AI-centric startups and startups who use machine learning and AI that you would call them as an impact tech startup. So they used AI technology to achieve the sustainable development goals. And how do you think, how much of a promise would AI's technology actually hold for achieving sustainable development goals, one or more sustainable development goals? Do you think it's really going to do something in this domain? Do you think it's an overhype? Do you think it's an evolution? Like, how much of a promise do you think an AI can bring to the sustainable development goals achievement?
Yes, we really, and personally, I really think that AI is one of the greatest enabler to work on impactful projects that can change the world and at the end of the day accelerate and find new solutions towards the SDGs. But at the same time, one of the main, the most relevant aspect is the experience on field. That this is essential to shape the use of AI and to adapt it to the different scenarios from energy, health, agriculture. There are different fields, financial inclusion. So, and this technology, at the end of the day, is at the core of is driving the fourth industrial revolution that we are part of. So, on the other hand, you have the huge amount of data available today that is at the core of the technology. And I mean, sometimes it's not so obvious, these linkages between the SDGs, or sometimes it's still rare, but totally it's a thing, it's a reality, and a growing trend to explore.
Great, thanks very much, Lorenzo. And I think thanks very much for all our mentors and judges with this insights and answering all these questions that I'm sure all of us are thinking about. And I think it's time now. Without further ado, let's move forward with our pitches. So as mentioned, we're going to have 5 startups today. So we're going to have Lucinity from Iceland. We're going to have Pinkline from the United States of America. We're going to have JusticeBot from Uganda. We're going to have AG Shift or AgShift from the United States of America. We're going to have Chat with double T, Chat, and Praxis Concierge from Germany. So it's very interesting and diverse as well. Startups from different geographical places and countries. And I think we're going to start with Lucinity. So Lucinity, can you please open your video and mic?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Justin. Thanks for being with us today.
I'll start sharing.
You can start sharing your screen. And as you know, you have the 4 minutes pitch, and then it's followed by Q&A from our mentors and judges. We also have my colleague, Andre, in the team here in the background. We'll let you know in the chat if you have 1 minute left.
Sure.
And then at the time, I'll open my video and I'll start the Q&A between the judges and yourself. So please, it's all yours now.
Sure. Good afternoon, guys. My name is Justin Bursic, and I'm Lucinity's head of data science. At Lucinity, we're about bridging the gap between humans and AI to empower us to tackle money laundering and financial crime and enhance trust in the global financial system. Human AI runs through the core of our DNA at Lucinity. It's about synergistically bringing together the unique brilliance of human cognition and the technological prowess of artificial intelligence. Money laundering is becoming more dangerous. It's becoming more innovative, and it's becoming more profitable. Fueled by heinous crimes such as human trafficking, corruption, bribery, and arms dealing, we as a global society need to come together and tackle this scourge on society. We need to be cognizant to the real human cost of money laundering. In fact, $2.7 trillion are laundered through the global financial system every year, with less than 1% of these criminal proceedings caught by the authorities. In fact, banks spend around $40 billion on AML, generally a bit outdated transaction monitoring systems, whereas criminals spend about $135 billion on R&D. The difference between the two is very clear. This is where we fit in. Lucinity provides human AI SaaS solutions to our clients to help them continuously improve their defense against money laundering and fraud. We connect our clients through an API interface and start to use behavioral AI algorithms to detect complex money laundering behavior. We send these cases through to our human AI-powered case management system, which basically shows the investigators the case in general, and they can use explainable AI and reinforcement learning to determine whether the case should be forwarded through to regulators. At Lucinity, we utilize the concepts and various manifestations of behavioral AI and deep learning. And we use this to find illicit criminal activity within our clients' data. Specifically, deep learning or deep neural nets, recurrent neural nets, and graph neural nets are used to find temporal dependencies in the data, hierarchical feature abstractions that allow us to find more complex networks of money laundering as opposed to just looking at single actors by themselves. We also utilize reinforcement learning in our front end, in our UI, which I'll demo now briefly.
The landing page provides an orderly overview and insight into the cases. Let's look at the case of David Butler. The AI-generated case summary sets the scene for the case and displays all relevant high-level information. The actor card provides a statistical and transactional overview of the actor being investigated. The observation card lays out the potential illicit behavior, provides behavior-specific visualizations and transactions, and allows feedback to be injected back into the AI detection algorithms. Lucy sets things in context, utilizing reinforcement learning and explainable AI to optimize an investigator's workflow. The automatic case narration summarizes the case in a regulator-relevant manner.
We see Lucinity as a win-win for our clients and society. We're able to surface more complex money laundering or productive cases, reduce the number of false positives, and find the criminals higher up the pecking order in the hierarchy. We're also able to empower investigators with tools such as explainable AI to make them faster, more efficient, and accurate in their processing of cases. At Lucinity, we encode all our intelligence within our knowledge graph, which basically helps us explain things clearly to investigators and our clients. We track the connection between regulations, behaviors, observations, features, and models, and allows our investigators to conduct the case with as much transparency as possible. We've developed and patent pending a federated learning approach that allows us to holistically improve our customers' defense against money laundering without the sharing of any individual client data. We see ourselves as the enterprise-ready startup, born out of tier one banks, innovative fintechs, and global regulators. We have a culture of action, raising our first seed funding early last year of $2 million, signing several clients, including a large tier one US bank, and we're currently raising through Series A right now. We're also developing our self-service onboarding, which allows us to scale our solutions across customers and geographies, allowing us to basically get the customer to sign up, click one button, start their system, and start detecting money laundering immediately. At Lucinity, we're about meeting the goals of the SDG, specifically 5.16. We want to see an elimination of exploitation of women, the reduction in illicit financial flows, corruption and bribery, and the ending of the scourge of human trafficking. At Lucinity, we're about using human AI to make money good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Justin. That was a great pitch and on time as well. Maybe I would ask now our judges and mentors if you have any questions. You can just enable the videos and mic and go ahead. Yes, please, Enrique.
Hi, Justin. Thanks for the pitch. Very interesting.
Thank you.
How do you make sure that the objectives that you have are clearly matched in the last slide, the ones you're mentioning?
Sorry, can you just repeat that question?
So in the last slide, you mentioned the objectives that you have to achieve the SDGs, right? Like my question is in regards to how do you measure those? How are you planning to actually hit on those goals?
Great question. So look, our objective is to stop money laundering within our clients. As we grow our network, obviously we can stop money laundering in a larger network than just one client. Especially with the use of federated learning, we can start to learn across the ecosystem. And this actually helps each bank or financial institution stop money laundering within their organization. So we see a world with this ecosystem growing and being a critical part of meeting these SDG goals, especially of stopping corruption and bribery. So it's not something that we're able to measure immediately. It's something we will measure over time. But in our case, it's about how many criminals can we weed out of our clients? And I suppose that's the measurement that we use. Of course, criminals can move to other banks, but however many we can get out of our clients, that's the key measurement when it comes to the SDG goals.
Yeah. Then I might just suggest to be more precise in the future on how you would like to do that.
Sure.
And what you can do right now in the sense of, yeah, money laundering. And then in the future, we would like to focus in XYZ, and this is how. Maybe just as an observation that was on my mind.
Thanks, Enrique. Will do.
Thank you for the pitch, by the way. Very cool.
Should I go with, no, go ahead, Lisa. Go ahead.
That's okay. All right, cool. I just had a question about your tech stack. So talk to me a bit about your architecture and how you're making your technical magic.
Okay, most of our models are based on TensorFlow and PyTorch models. We use Spark in our background, of course, given that we're a big data company. Many of our clients have multiple millions of records a day. So our tech stack is based on Spark, utilizing TensorFlow and PyTorch models to detect. And our UI is, of course, JavaScript, and it's the SaaS platform. So our head of engineering would love to answer that question. But from a data science perspective, we are about utilizing the most innovative tools available. TensorFlow and PyTorch are our tools of choice.
Okay, got it. And what role does data protection, privacy, and security play within your company, and how are you protecting sensitive data?
Thank you for the question. At Lucinity, when we started, we had this issue that banks don't want to share data. So we actually developed another patent. We have 2 patents currently pending. Our first patent that we developed was around pseudo-anonymization of data by using deep learning, specifically deep autoencoders, that was able to pseudo-anonymize data into a non-human readable format, essentially numbers, but while it's still usable for data science algorithms. So essentially, we take in the bank's data and we basically anonymize any PII information about those people, names, addresses, etc. And we can still pseudo-anonymize to send that data through to our front end, or basically our detection engine, and use it in machine learning algorithms. So that's the first thing that we do whenever data enters our cloud.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. One quick question on my end. Thank you very much for the pitch. That was really clear. My understanding is your current clients are mainly bank, and there are issues linked to money laundering. I mean, tax evasion, but also corruption. Are you thinking of addressing different clients, like other very large multinationals or international organizations, or even governments in some countries?
Yes, absolutely. So currently, our focus is on financial institutions, also payment or acquirers, as they're called, like payment processors. We will eventually scale to more, I suppose, deeper financial institutions, including regulators and central banks. But currently, the focus is on banks. There are also, a significant proportion of money laundering occurs in certain organizations like the gambling industry. So we see the potential to scale as well to these industries. And essentially, it's all about building the behavior that we're trying to detect. So currently, we have about 80 behaviors that we tackle. And that might not just be in banks, that might be across multiple organizations. But as we build this behavioral suite, we'll be able to tackle money laundering in other organizations as well. That's definitely the objective.
Okay, thank you. That's very clear.
Thanks, Max.
Hi, Justin. I also had a very short question. Thanks for the very clear presentation. And it was also pertaining as to sort of the data on which you operate on, right? So you already talked about federation. So my guess would be the second pending patent is maybe related to that. Mm-hmm. And I just had a question regarding sort of private bank clients and commercial bank clients, because I could imagine the complexity sort of becomes higher when you're dealing with corporate structures and all the embeddings around that. How do you deal with that?
Great question. So it does become more difficult, I suppose, as the banks grow in size. How we deal with that, I suppose, one thing to remember is that our CEO, our head of engineering, and myself have a background with these banks and regulators. So we have a good understanding of how the process of the sale, pitch, and essentially the large, I suppose, a value proposition pitch goes. It does take time. So how we treat, larger commercial clients is about starting the conversation. And, given our move towards self-service, an API interface that allows them to connect their data as easy as possible, we actually see this as significantly easier for our clients to connect to as opposed to competition. So I think the answer is that it's difficult, but we're trying to make it as easy as we can, and definitely easier than the competition.
Okay, so follow-on question, very short question, maybe to the data sources, right? So my understanding is you're working off transactional data that you obtain from the banks and on bank accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Do you combine this with other data sources? So
absolutely. So we have our external enrichment sources. I won't get too deep into what it is, but it does include public sources and some private sources. Essentially, we need to, if we see someone transacting with a certain company, we need to determine who the ultimate beneficial owner of that company is. We need to determine the network and linkages between it. So we need company data, and from companies such as Dun & Bradstreet or the like, that can actually connect us all the way through the chain of a transaction, and understand exactly what's happening. So external data sources are critical for us, yes.
Thanks.
I have a short question. Thank you for the pitch. Amazing. My question is about the team. Which kind of experience do you have? Which kind of background do you have? And how big is the team? Because they saw so many pictures, okay, and so many logos, okay, that is fine, but it's kind of confusing. What does it mean, this logo? How people are full-time? How many people are part-time? Is your team distributed in several countries, areas, time zone? How are you structured in this way?
Thanks, Lorenzo. So we're distributed in Reykjavik and New York at the moment with plans to grow. We currently have 15 team members, and actually a new one did join this morning, part-time. So we have 16, but that's 15 full-time and one part-time. We're broken into, look, we are an engineering-focused firm. So I would say, a significant portion of our firm is engineers and developers, data science as well. And then, of course, we have sales and marketing generally run by the CEO in the marketing department. So we're 15, we're growing very quickly. We're finishing a Series A round, which will allow us to scale very quickly. So I'd say that's the current status of the team. It's generally one of the most brilliant teams I've ever worked with. And they're all committed to the cause. They're committed to coming into work, helping find these patterns of money laundering and stopping these criminals, and doing it in a way that we can scale across clients globally. That's the current team setup.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Justin. I think we need to move on with our next startup. So Pink Line, you ready?
Yes, we're ready.
That's great. So please, you know the rules. You have 4 minutes. Share your screen. I'm also taking this time to make the mentors and the judges take some time to fill in the digital scorecard if they want to do it now, not at the end. And
can you see
ready, Jennifer? 4 minutes, take it off.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, works very well.
Wonderful. We are Pink Lion. We are about bringing humanized AI to the world's app teams to make a difference in how they build, develop, and deploy technologies. I am the CEO, Jennifer Bonin. Our CTO is Andrew Burkholtz, and Rick Felice is our Chief Operating Officer. Our team started the last 10 years together as a group, solving large-scale problems and challenges for companies across the globe, including in the gaming industry, with big tech at Dell, at Target Corporation, with Oracle, Microsoft, Google, and Disney. What we saw as a common theme was that we wanted to build an organization that had impact at its core, but also solved technological challenges for organizations. We started with social responsibility from the beginning. We wanted the ability to apply the solutions we were developing, not only to technology organizations across the globe for profit, but also technology solutions that aided in creating a more positive future. We're working right now to apply cutting-edge AI technology to match first-gen college students with mentors and opportunities to help close the equity gap in our post-pandemic society. We are working with Lead the Way to provide technology solutions to children who are in hospitals for extended stays due to illness and disease that they're facing. We are working with Dream Tank to bring in children and leverage our technology solutions that are used in enterprises to allow youth to use those solutions as they're building, developing, and deploying their technologies in their spaces that they want to impact in the world going forward. So we started this organization saying, how do we create a more diverse, inclusive set of technology solutions? How do we impact the world as we build this fourth industrial revolution, where we're engaging multi-generational diversity of thought and including folks from all different backgrounds in building these technology solutions. So we started by getting involved in organizations to help assist and deploy the solutions we were building into places where we could have a social impact. While we did that, we were able to quickly gain momentum and revenue as well. Our solutions that we deploy inside organizations for profit, we were able to, in under 6 months, gain almost $4.7 million in contracted revenue. So very quickly, with the ability to scale inside enterprises, corporations, and organizations, while in parallel using solutions to operate in a socially impactful and responsible way at the same time. We believe that there's a need for humanized AI. We believe that human-centered design is key as we're building the solutions to assist people who build, develop, and deploy websites, mobile apps, and technology in the world. We've seen that the adoption hasn't been as high as what we would expect in these technologies. So what we are looking to do at Pink Lion is create the App Store for AI, a trusted market space with social impact at its core. We look and evaluate every technology and tool out there that can be leveraged for the software development lifecycle and understand what it is good at, what types of technologies it's using, and then build gap solutions to fill those gaps for our customers. How we do this? We create custom bundles of AI solutions for enterprise and corporate clients. We understand what at their core their challenges are in their software development lifecycle. That could be in testing, development, product management, business analysis, UX, or design. Once we understand the challenge, we're able to drill deeper and say specifically what's causing your challenge. That could be their UI automation, it could be responsive design, it could be diffing of PDFs. These are things that are taking immense amounts of time for their humans, where we want to leverage AI solutions to uplift and augment the humans. So we're providing them with the insights to drive decision-making processes. Once we have this information, we easily can bundle AI technologies to solve the problems in those corporations and help them get the uplift they need from AI and leveraging the data and insights to drive decision-making. We summarize all of this in a portal and integrated console that shows them no matter what AI technologies or solutions they're using to aid their software development lifecycle, how that can impact the decisions they're making every day in their work. We are creating data sets that they haven't had access to see previously and allowing them the ability to make decisions and change the future of work for all of the folks that are doing their jobs every day to build, develop, and deploy technologies in organizations. We've used this across various industries, including the gaming industry, to help and aid as new games and products are released. We've used it in the cruise line and entertainment industry. We've used it in the retail and e-commerce industry to assist them. Across the board, having access to this data and information is providing valuable insights, while at the same time giving these options to have this information not only to them for their bundled subscription services that they're able to use, but through our bundled services, allowing customization to help aid and help people understand how to do their jobs in the future, leveraging both AI and humans together to create a better future.
Thanks, Jennifer. That was cool. That was great. Any questions from the mentors, from the judges?
Yes, I have one.
Yes.
Hi, great pitch. Congrats. Very clear. I still have one question related to your business model. Could you please provide more information both about the business model as well as the impact model? How you can measure the impact of your venture?
Yes. So two things we do. We build solutions that are in enterprises. Our business model is those bundled subscriptions to help them achieve their goals. So we provide our own solutions, our Pink Lion technologies in our app store that we're building, that are gap technologies based on understanding the needs of the market space. So we will create and develop pivotable brains that solve multi-problem, faceted problems in industries, but we also leverage folks who've built technology out there already and put them in our app store. Very similar to Apple or any app store, we build and put apps in our app store that are trusted, that we vetted for data security and privacy. We've checked that the ML and AI has a high level of accuracy. We've ensured that they do what they say they do in the market space, and then put them in the app store once we understand they're able to do that. So we have exclusive contracts and partnerships with AI providers that provide different applications, and then we build our own tech as well. When we're building the tech, some of it is not all for enterprise and for sale. Our impact that we're doing is using and developing our pivotable brains that may be partially used in enterprise to assist in things like creating the eHarmony for first-gen to college students to match them to mentors, jobs, and opportunities. So we'll take that same tech, pivot it, and understand how many lives we're impacting by using these technologies to serve another need that has a social impact in the community.
Thanks.
Okay, hi, it's Melissa. I have a question about, when you think about ethics in AI and how, I think we'd all love to have a global definition of what ethics in AI means. And I know that there are, lots of publications out there that, talk about, specific ethics. How do you translate those ethics over markets where ethics might differ?
So for us, it's one of the things we decided as we launched the organization was living on the principle of the organizations that we choose to work with and partner with. We want to have a certain level of cohesiveness around transparency. So we measure, are they transparent in what the data is being used for? Do we know what the usage is? Are they transparent in the type of technology that's underlying it? And is it truly machine learning based, or is it what we're calling faux AI, where people put AI a label on it, almost like when organic came out, we label it as AI, but we don't know what that means. So having a common definition and an understanding of, are the underpinnings actually AI? Looking at the models and the algorithms that are being used to ensure we understand what those are, and then making sure that the companies we're working with are using the data in the way that is transparent to the consumers who then are engaging and interacting is highly important to us, to make sure that people trust the solutions we're providing to them as the face.
Got it. So does that mean that you're carefully selecting which markets you go into?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. I know that was a tough one right there. All right. Thank you.
Hi there.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Enrique. Thank you, Jennifer. I had two questions, actually. Thank you for the presentation. I had one question as to the innovative use of AI. So I was a little bit left wanting for more on what is actually, how do you use AI in this, and what is actually your core technical expertise? Because I saw a lot of different fields that you brought up, from design and BI and UX and so on. So I would be curious to hear that. And then also, I didn't quite understand, to be quite honest, how that related to the college, to the young people looking for opportunities, or kids that had just gone through illness. I kind of couldn't match that together. It'd be great.
Yes, absolutely. So it's a lot to cover in 4 minutes, because the two pieces we do is create pivotable bot brains, we call them, where we can pivot the brain to solve different challenges or solutions. Those solutions could be an enterprise solution, which is one of our clients, for example, who's looking for, I'll give you an example with COVID-19, price gouging. trying to understand what the prices are of various products out there on the internet that are available for N95 masks and hand sanitizer. You may need to understand when those prices adjust or change. We can leverage AI to go out and look at the particular sites we're targeting, look at those products, pull that data and information back, identify when it changes, visualize it on the console so that the human then just, instead of having to check all the time, what they do is really look at the data, drive their decision-making process. That pivotable brain that's searching and grabbing all of that data and information, we can pivot to now say, we're going to do criteria matching on students who are looking for opportunities with certain levels of skill sets to employers who are looking for placement of certain individuals into their organizations for either internships, mentorships, or opportunities for jobs. So leveraging these pivotable brains to solve multiple challenges in the world by looking at the trends of what consumers need is where we're really targeting that innovative solution of the pivot capability around the software development life cycle specifically.
Thank you.
Yes.
One quick one. Ahmed, do you have time?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. A very quick one for you. Thank you very much for the presentation. There are a lot of discussions and research being done on how AI might possibly be perpetuating gender inequality, racism, and so on, the way it is designed. As you test the different tools you put on your app store, do you look into this specifically?
Yes, we actually work with several organizations as part of our partnership, one being iVow and others who look at culturally inclusive data sets. So one of our important tenets was culturally inclusive and diverse data sets and evaluating those at our core. So one of the reasons we engage as we even test our own technology we're building, who tests our technology isn't just us and our customers. We engage youth to test our technology, and they actually give us some of the best feedback as well. And then we're also engaging experts in security and other fields to ensure that we are inclusive of thought of how we're building and what we're building.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think we're just out of time. I know Enrique had a last question, but I hope the other judges actually ask the same question if possible, and we have to move forward with our next startup. Thanks, Enrique. And actually, it's from Uganda. So we have a Justice Bot, right? So can you please enable your mic? Let me test everything. Share your screen. Hey, how are you, Saidi?
I'm ready, yeah.
The voice is clear. And as you know the rules, 4 minutes and followed by Q&A. And please take it out.
Hello, my name is Magezi Sages, co-founder and CEO of Justice Bot. We provide legal information and advice in simplified manner. We all can agree that the knowledge of law and legal procedures are the first step to get a legal issue solved in an inexpensive and timely manner. 65% of Ugandans seek legal information whenever faced with a legal issue. We also did a survey both in Uganda and Congo, and we found that 70% of people surveyed said access to legal information and legal advice is expensive and is difficult. This causes access to justice to be time-consuming, expensive, and causes stress. We also noticed that court users are affected by backlog, which also affects court, but also they see their cases get adjourned or dismissed. Justice Bot is here to change this with an online automated platform and SMS service that provides free legal information. So all the users to do is, for instance, go on Facebook or Messenger, type his question and get answered instantly. And this is good because both rural and urban area people get answered 24/7 and have access to information whenever they want. The platform also provides lawyers to answer, like to give legal advice, and this via a mobile app. And they can charge directly their customer via the mobile app without having to meet. And if they want to meet, they can just request to meet. And this is great for this pandemic period where distance is required. The questions are answered by an AI system, which makes that thousands of people get answered instantly, but also allows lawyers to answer effectively because they are supported by the AI system. Facebook has 2.2 million Ugandan users, And whenever we are thinking of Uganda, we target these people. And Uganda has more than 8,000 lawyers. So far, we have 33,000 users registered, and we've been able to help 76,000 people by preventing their right violation or solving their legal issues. Our projection is 73,000 USD annual revenue. We've also been able to make lawyers get $815, and we've been able to make $144. And now to sustain ourselves, lawyers give us 10% from whatever payment they receive from the client. We have many key differentiators. One of it being for lawyers having the accessibility and comfortability of working from wherever they want, having access to clients 24/7, but also for users, people who have legal issues, they have access 24/7 to free legal information, and sometimes they also pro bono work or free legal advice. We are seeking 150 USD, and with this, we want to be able to help 300,000 people by preventing their right violation or helping them resolve their legal issue. And with this, we want also to provide access to job opportunity to 750 lawyers. We are seeking this money as grant or equity. Our team is composed with various skill set that is needed for this project. We have lawyers with 7+ years working in law firm. We have software engineers with a great experience being for a long time in the industry. People are destroyed because of lack of knowledge. Our vision is to provide access to justice to 6 million people and provide job opportunity to 6,000 lawyers across Africa by 2025. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sagis. And I think time now for Q&A. Any first questions from our mentors?
I can do the first one if you want to have one ready. Thank you very much for the presentation. That was very clear. Actually, on your last slide, your vision is Pan-African. It's not limited to your home country. How replicable is your solution? We know the law is different for every single country. Is the algorithm still applicable to a new country?
That's really a good question, yeah. Yes, it is, because so far we've tested, like when we started in Uganda and we tried to test something with Congo, and it's worked perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions?
Oh, yes, I would have another question.
Oh, we have Marcus when you call. Please go ahead.
Sorry, my video's off. So yeah, I was wondering about how do you train the system, and how do you so you base it on what would be the input and output of your training algorithm, I guess, because it's, for me, right, in the legal field, right, often one of the challenges is to scale data sets across different clients, different law firms, and so on. And it would be really interesting to hear how you tackle that.
Yeah, so basically we provide information to our system AI engine, and we train it. We train it to know the patterns and to know how to answer. And from the other side, we have questions that we receive from people who have questions, and that's help us for having data to train with our engine. And so far, we've received around more than 120,000 requests. Those are messages coming from people. So whenever we see some new cases, the AI system is able to detect it and either to train itself, or we like when it fails, we have to come in so that it can, we can train it manually. Basically, most of our work is supervised learning.
Supervised learning, okay. Okay, and so basically then you also match it to, like, I guess there's also some reinforcement learning in there. You match it, like, how happy are people with their
Exactly.
responses? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Yeah. Cool initiative.
Thank you.
You're muted, Ahmed.
Muted.
Yes, thank you. Thanks again very much for this presentation. It was a great pitch. And I think we're moving forward with we have a question from Enrique. Please, Enrique.
Yeah, very quick. So you were starting by saying that you are already seeking some investment.
Exactly.
Yeah, can you elaborate a little bit of what are your numbers at this point? So your revenue, your targets, how much you see your company closing by the end of this year, and yeah, what is coming in the future after also COVID and all this?
Yeah. So what is there is we like so far we've been in the market, and we've been mainly focusing on getting a product, a market fit product, and it has gone through. I mean, the phase was has been successful. And from what I said, like our projection is annually we can make around 73,000 annually, and we have different business model that can help us even achieve more. Because the solution that we've built, we've realized internally that it can even use it can be even used by other organizations whenever they need, and we can turn our solution into something like a SaaS, which can help us generate more revenue. I don't know if I answered all the questions correctly, but if you need more clarity, I'm open here.
Do we still have time, Ahmed?
Yes, for a follow-up.
Okay, well, let me be very straightforward. How much is your revenue right now, and how much is gonna be in the next years, and how much you are planning to give for the investment you're looking for?
Okay, so this year, I mean, so far we've been able to make 144, and in total, like we've been able also to help lawyers make 815. And this, I mean, the investment that we are seeking it for equity of 10% of our company.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for the clarity.
Thank you, Enrique. Thank you, Sagisi, and it was a great pitch again. I think we don't have any more questions, so let's move forward for the next startup. And it's AgShift or AgShift from the United States. So AgShift, are you ready? Yes. And please just make sure that you are muted and speak so that we can know that your mic is working. We cannot hear you.
How about now?
Yes, now it works. So please just put on a slideshow mode and go ahead.
Hi, everyone. So this is Niku from AgShift. So just wanted to give all of you a little bit of background of AgShift's vision of reducing food waste and how we are applying AI to do that. Prior to AgShift, I've done multiple startups and have led many initiatives for companies like IBM and VMware. But growing up, I grew up in India, a smallholder farming community in northern India, where own a lot of mango farms. But the idea is that as a fourth generation farming economy, I am very well aware of what it means to be in this ecosystem and how food waste impacts on one end, the zero hunger on the other end. So with AgShift, humbly, it gave me the opportunity to combine everything that I had learned from technology perspective and apply that to something very, very meaningful in terms of food. So essentially, what we are doing with AgShift, our vision is to bring all efficiencies which are possible from technology perspective to food supply chain. And there is a lot of room for that. As an entrepreneur, my last startup was acquired by IBM, and I was leading IBM's Internet of Things initiative, where I was working with a lot of companies dealing with sensor irrigation, farm data, robotics, drones, and all of that. And it became very, very evident to me that there is a visible gap in how many eyes, how many entrepreneurs are actually trying to bring technology to food supply chain. So with that vision, AgShift was started. And our vision is very simple. We want to bring efficiencies to how food industry goes about doing quality inspection, because quality is the heart of the entire supply chain from a business perspective, but it is also at the heart of each one of us as consumers. So with that notion, we have built industry's first AI-based food quality automation platform. And very simply put, what you see here, this is our patented analyzer, which is called Hydra. And this is what is running across many different processing facilities in US and also in selected facilities in Vietnam. From the technology perspective, to simplify it at the highest level, when you talk about AI, mostly one of the first applications that comes to our mind is self-driving cars. For us, we took that technology stack, mostly the same technology stack, took all those building blocks, learnings, fundamentals from there, and built what is self-grading strawberries or self-grading almonds or self-grading cashews, right? So the idea is that we optimized it for food quality inspection as an application. And what you see here is that typically, if you look at how inspection is done today in any organization, and we are not talking about small or medium-sized organization, we are working with some of the largest organizations in the world, but the quality inspection process is 100% manual, where you have to train people and people have to go through counting blueberries or counting 500 grams of almonds. And the process is so tedious when you do one inspection every 10 minutes that it is error prone, it is bound to making mistakes, and it's a very subjective interpretation. So what we are doing with AI is we are augmenting this process so that people can do better, smarter jobs, and AI can do the most of these visual defect assessments and thereby bring operational efficiencies to the supply chain. So where do our solutions go? They are applicable. If you look at the supply chain, and this is very similar to wherever we are, it's not just specific to US, this is the food supply chain, and we are applicable to every player in the supply chain where you have to do quality assessment. And as I said, since this is quality, everyone has to do the inspections, either to determine the quality, to determine the grade, to determine how do you pay your supplier upstream or downstream. So even a single shipment of food actually minimally gets inspected at least 4 times between the farm and the consumer. So the applicability we have is massive at a global scale. And these are some of the organizations we are working with. So our systems are running at Driscoll's, which is world's largest berry organization, at Famoso, which is one of the larger almond processors in California, with Olam, which is we are running the automation on cashews. So overall, our vision is that we are able to bring operational efficiencies, improve the number of samples which can be inspected, because a machine can inspect 4x, 5x, 8x of the samples which can be done manually. And if you increase more data points for sampling-based inspections, then statistically you are able to improve the quality of the inspection and the assessment of the inspection. And we are able to do it at a scale where you can have efficiencies and a digitized audit trail for the entire supply chain. So what's unique about what we are doing? This is the first and the only application where AI is used to automate batch-based or sampling-based inspections for food and determine the food quality. And this
sorry, Mika, I have to cut you here. You just have to wrap up in the coming 20 seconds, please. This is over time.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I'll go very quickly. So in terms of commodities, we are working on fresh berries, edible nuts, but we can scale to hundreds of commodities which are out there. We have the patented Hydra technology, which we are doing. In terms of our second uniqueness, essentially, we are the only company where we have clean, curated, labeled, and annotated data set. for these kind of quality assessments, and this doesn't really exist anywhere in the world because these organizations have never taken images to do quality assessments. These are some of the commodities on which we are currently working on. As I said, our focus is on fresh produce and edible nuts for now, where we are working on commercializing our solutions. This is our team. We all have very different backgrounds in terms of building large-scale enterprise software and in terms of having access to the food ecosystem. In terms of our social impacts, as we are touching food, we are touching many, many aspects of food. So we are directly reducing food waste by improving the assessment of food further up in the supply chain as opposed to the last mile. We are bringing automation because these processes are completely manual and we are disrupting it with automated solutions. Food quality is improved because we are able to increase the samples and we are able to digitize it. And food waste is directly contributing to the greenhouse gas emissions. So 15% of the 6% which is contributed due to food waste is due to supply chain. Yeah, I'm pausing it. I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah, and you have more time to maybe clarify this in the questions because you passed really the time with actually a few minutes. So that's yeah. So maybe if we have some questions from the judges and mentors, and you can clarify more about your solution. Any upcoming questions?
Yes, I have one.
Yes, please. Go on.
So thank you for your presentation. Quite clear. So the first question is about the roadmap. Could you please share the main next steps for your organization, for AgShift, and what you want to achieve? And second is the revenue model. So if you have any recurring revenues, how they can integrate within your business model, how you can, let's say, how you're making money, basically. Please. Thanks.
Sure. So on the first question, our current focus is to commercialize our AI automation on two commodities, strawberries and almonds. We are already running across, as I shared, some of the largest organizations, Driscoll's and Wish Farms, where our Hydra systems are in active commercial deployment for more than 12 months now. So as the season picks up in California, which is our first focus, we are working on commercializing our solution for strawberries and almonds. So strawberry season has started and almonds will start in August. So that's our first focus because our AI solution is ready on these two commodities. In terms of the pricing model, our pricing model is very, very straightforward. It's a SaaS-based model. So we charge X dollars per Hydra per month because we are not in the business to sell the hardware. Our goal is to essentially have that as a means to an end being the clean, curated, one of the most powerful data repositories in the world as it applies to the quality assessments and the visual defect assessments of the commodities we are working on.
Max, I think you have a question.
Yes, I do. Can you hear me? I had to change the headphones. Okay,
Yes.
cool. I have two questions. Sorry, both of them are a bit.
You're trying to.
Max, you were muted for a second. So could you repeat the question clearly? We can't hear you now.
Okay, so you should be able to hear me now. Okay, very sorry. The first one is your algorithm will tend to select products that are deemed sellable, which might be like looking good for the end customers. But would that potentially have an impact on the amount of food waste, all those strawberries or almonds that do not look good enough to be sold, and how do you deal with that? And my second question is more on the employment side. You're going here with this solution from manual to automated. My understanding is the manual process might be done mostly by people who are quite low skilled. How do you mitigate this impact on employment, basically on jobs potentially being lost by automated this process?
Sure. So on the first question, the way these inspections are not typically done at the farms. These are done in the supply chain by, for example, Driscoll's is a shipper, or you have a wholesaler or a retailer or an aggregator, and they do the inspections based on random samplings. And that's a well-defined industry process for any supply chain. So they will do their inspections because they have to determine the quality and the sampling size and the price which they pay the grower. But what happens is that at least today, for example, you are only inspecting, say, 100 strawberries to determine the fate of a $5 million shipment from a farm. With ActShift's Hydra, you can inspect 1,000 berries, and that way, for the benefit of the grower, since you are able to increase the sample size, the organization is in a much better position to determine the actual true quality of that shipment, so that the grower is not penalized with a reduced sample and with a subjective or a biased interpretation from the manual inspections. If there is an issue with that fruit, since you are able to consistently inspect it much earlier in the transit as opposed to much later, at least you have the path where if it is a grade B versus a grade A, then you can find secondary markets, tier 2 and tier 3 markets, as opposed to incurring the loss of that entire shipment being rejected at the last mile. So it's a very valuable and a value proposition which growers are supporting along with the organization, because you are at the end of the day doing it in an unbiased way over tenfold increased samples. On the second question, it is not that the workforce is going to lose their job. Essentially, the organizations are able to give them a more higher value added training. For example, they can get trained on Hydra. They can be doing other aspects of the inspection as opposed to counting 400 almonds or 1,000 berries. They are able to expand their skill sets and capabilities by having them work on many other aspects of the business and the quality and food safety. And in the light of the current COVID crisis, as you know, US has been impacted very strongly. So what is happening is that a lot of this food is coming to the facility, but since people are not able to go to the facilities, organizations are operating at 25% of their capacity, and all that food is going to waste because you don't have enough hands to do quality assessment, which is something which we are able to solve, because one operator, even with a lower skill set for an organization, can now operate multiple Hydras, and thereby they are able to retain the job, and at the same time organization is able to move that volume of fruit even in the absolute crisis which we are going through in California right now.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mika. And we're going to proceed with our last but definitely not least startup from Germany, Chat Praxis Concierge. So Simon, are you ready?
Yes, hello
Yes,
everyone.
please.
I'm just sharing.
Just share your screen and start right away. Yes, we can see. Just click on the slideshow.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, we are really happy and honored to be here with you today. And thank you for this occasion. The onset of the COVID-19 pandemic has exposed severe shortcomings in healthcare systems across the globe. In Europe, we have witnessed overcrowded medical helplines, patients being sent home from hospitals, and local health ministries hiring volunteers to follow up with cases. Given the shortage of medical personnel, the continued monitoring of outstation patients with corona or as well other chronic diseases is practically not possible. Patients at home are left to their own devices, where often the course of disease can turn critical abruptly. We are the team from Praxis Concierge, and we have developed Home Nurse, a system to automatically monitor individual records of symptoms over the phone.
Hello, Melina. How are you doing today?
I'm feeling better, but still quite tired.
All right. Did you already measure your temperature today?
Yes, I took the temperature. It's around 39 degrees.
That's actually pretty high, and your temperature has increased since yesterday. Let me mark this here on the dashboard. Do you want to connect to a doctor right now?
No, I think I'm fine.
These calls are triggered automatically in regular intervals and create a diary of symptoms. The system can be operated from a hospital or a health ministry, where medical personnel checks the incoming results on an online dashboard and can take immediate action. The stakeholders of our solutions are the patients, the care providers, and the insurances due to cost savings by timely treatments. What you see here in these bubbles is the number of people per nurse in various regions of the WHO. These bubbles would even be larger for the people per doctor. Shortage of medical personnel, along with aging populations and chronic diseases, is the biggest drivers for solutions in remote patient monitoring. Changing legislations around the world are creating more and more scope for digital solutions here. Many solutions in the market bet on smartphone apps, on wearables, or various kinds of IoT sensors. We believe that with a human-like dialogue over the phone, we can capture the well-being of a patient better than with mere vital statistics. Our solution is built on a scalable infrastructure and can easily be adapted for all common languages. We are convinced that our solution can actually further the progress towards the goals of sustainable development. The low technical barrier can help increase outreach of primary care, as well in areas with low access, for example, no internet remote regions, while the efficiency gain can lead to more resilient systems, healthcare systems. The collected data could serve population statistics for early detection of national and global health risks and accelerate a timely response. Our team combines PhD level expertise in machine learning and especially natural language processing with a strong track record of successful business initiatives. Over the last 8 months, we have successfully developed solutions for automation of phone services in clinics, like appointment scheduling, follow-up prescriptions, and anamnesis before the actual appointment. We have set up companies in UK and in Germany. We are currently implementing our solutions with partners in Europe. We hope the AI for Good community will connect us to a wider range of healthcare players and healthcare institutions. Join us on our mission to make great healthcare accessible for all. Let's make this world a healthier place. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Simon. It's great. Good pitch and time as well. Any questions from the mentors, judges? Yeah, Enrique, please go ahead.
Yes. Hey, Simon.
Hey, Enrique. Hello.
So this is a very, very interesting topic, and I think is something that is going to be a trend if it's not already there, right? Like even more in emerging markets, telemedicine and the evaluation of patients without being really in front of the medician or the doctor. One question in regards to the trends that you were speaking. So how are you planning to actually cover the different trends that are existing in the emerging markets or in any other markets to grow the capacity of the system? What is the logic that you're putting in the sense of where is the analysis that will go in the future with this technology? Is it maybe, I mean, what I'm asking is maybe just to understand where do you see this going, not just now, but in the future, and how you are tackling that future in the better assessing the needs of the patients?
Yeah, and you mean in terms of the use case or in terms of our scalable infrastructure?
Yeah, let me tell you why I'm asking this so precisely. So I've been thinking and also analyzing some projects in this same sense. And the one big trend or one big issue that everyone is having is they don't really know yet what kind of disease, what kind of problematics they can tackle. I mean, it's very general. Do you already have that interesting trends as a company and as a solution?
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, what we propose here is really more the system setup for monitoring symptoms. So triggering calls, leading people through a conversation and checking in with their symptoms, which can basically use for chronic diseases, right, like diabetes or heart problems. Or, I mean, we have come up with this system for in the COVID-19 context, where we use a specific questionnaire for COVID-specific symptoms. But in general, I mean, the system can be adapted to any kinds of chronic conditions as well.
And is there any way to measure what is happening in the population in a certain area, region, in what will happen in the future by the diagnostic that you're making? I think yes. How do you see these in the future? What is the? I'm going a bit more in the 2 years from now, 3 years from now. What do you see going forward in this?
Yeah, and understand, perfectly understand your direction here, and this is very interesting. I mean, currently we really consider this more as a tool for timely treatment as well, for remote diagnosis and so on. But it's I mean, we perfectly see this as well, that as a tool to collect data across populations, right? And then that would allow statistics based on several regions and give early indications, say, of outbreaks or region-specific diseases as well.
Yeah. So I understand you haven't yet explored the option of having these as a solution for countries or for healthcare systems in regions and stuff like this. That's where I'm going. So it's not yet on the plan that you have. Okay.
Yeah. It's definitely part of our mission and vision, but of our roadmap. But we are not there yet. We are in the market since and the focus has been more on Europe as well, where people is very sensible how do you use their data as well. So we didn't really make this a stronger case so far.
Yeah, but I mean, you have a great solution. Think big. It's an amazing thing. No, honestly, I mean, it's a really great thing. So if it works, you should start from the where you can really go and then go down.
Yeah.
My personal perspective.
Thank you very much. Great idea. Great
Thank you.
Thanks, Enrique. We're going to make this connection actually afterwards. If any of the startups want to be connected to any of the mentors or the other way around, we will do that. Thanks, Simon, very much.
Thank you.
Enrique. And I think we have reached the end of our pitching session. And I mean, thanks very much for the startups and for everyone. And also, we've been a bit over time, and I'm sure you noticed, but maybe it's good to hear some very final comments from our mentors and judges before we close. So maybe I'll start with Nicole, because you're short on time. So maybe just a final comment. It can be an insight, can be something that you saw in the pitching you'd like to let us know about. I mean, what do you think?
First of all, thank you to everybody who pitched. Really inspirational pitches and great topics you're tackling. I think it was really good to see that for most pitches, AI was really at the core of it. And I love for some of you to get in touch with me again, because I even have ideas of how you can maybe deepen the tech component even more. And I think also have some ideas on how to really make the operating model and the data collection model, right? Because that was kind of critical for some of them, Justice Bot, also for you with the concierge, also ActShift, right? How to get the data right, how to maybe combine different data sources and find other stakeholders that might be willing to pay for what you're doing. So thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure, and wish all of you a lot of success.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Melissa, would you like to just final comment, any insight, anything you like very much, anything you think?
So, as someone who's very focused on, recruiting health tech startups, to join my program, I'd love to talk to you and see if it might be interesting for you to join my accelerator program. I would be interested in understanding how do you currently protect your sensitive data since you're gaining access to healthcare records.
Great. Thanks very much, Melissa. And Max, final comments?
No, thank you very much, everyone, for pitching, and then to you, Ahmed, and the fellow judges. I think it's great. And as I was saying at the beginning, there are so many ways that technology can provide solutions to real life issues. I mean, we've seen agriculture, justice, money laundering, health, and the list is so long. So it's very refreshing and a great way for me to end a very long week. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Max. Enrique, any final comments about the whole pitching session or any specific startup?
Keep doing this. I really enjoy it. It is really interesting, and I think it's awesome to see you face to face. But it's like all the logistics of making these things happen and having more than 100 people connected on seeing this thing. I think the only thing I can say is that, like, keep doing this. It is really, really interesting, and the pitches were really, really good, and happy to stay in touch with some of them.
Thank you very much, Enrique. Lorenzo, final comments about the startups, anything you think you might help with, anything you would like to provide in terms of insights?
Yes, thank you, everyone. Great quality of pitches, of teams, and solutions. So, I mean, I don't want to repeat, but like, keep pushing, guys. You're doing great. You are part of this big change in the world. So I really wish you the best. And I would like to catch up with all of you, basically. Like, you're doing great stuff for our next batch that we start in September. So happy to follow up later on. And congrats to everyone, to the comments, great organization as well. So well done.
Thanks, thank you very much. And just to remind everyone that the pitching session is going on and on. It's all year long. So I mean, it's a kind of a whole online program for the whole year throughout 2020. You can always find the program on our website. We're having next actually Tuesday at 4 p.m. Geneva time, CST, a solution track titled AI and Indigenous Knowledge. Would be great. You can find all our program online, aiforgood.it.int. I would like to really thank all the judges, mentors, startups, and of course the attendees. It's a great dynamic pitching session. And again, to remind everyone, you have an open call for the startups and idea innovators on our website. It's going to be open till the end of June. So if there's any startup out there, idea innovators using artificial intelligence to achieve the sustainable development goals, feel free to apply to be on one of our live pitching sessions. So thanks very much and have a great weekend.